Voice of God, Volume 1, page 156. Why should Vedarakshanam, preservation of Vedas, be a lifetime undertaking? The question arises, it can be accepted that the division of functions on hereditary basis is beneficial to the entire society. But if the Brahmin's function is to protect Vedas, in what way is it good for the society? The potter makes the pots, the dhobi washes the clothes, the weaver produces the clothes, the cowherd gives milk, the farmer tills the land. Thus, each one carries out a function. These functions are necessary for the day-to-day life of the people. They directly enjoy the fruits of such labor. They eat the rice produced by tilling, they wear the cloth produced by the weaver. It is required to cover the body and protect it from heat and cold. Milk is consumed. It is converted into buttermilk and taken. The pot is put on fire and cooking is done. Thus, the people of other jatis give what is required for practical living. What does the Brahmin give? What work have the Shastras which have ordained the Varna Dharma allotted to him? The Brahmin has to hear the Vedas and learn them. That is, he has to do Adhyayana. In the same way, he has to teach others by reciting it. That is, he has to do Adhyapana. Recitation of the Vedas is Adhyayana. Teaching the Vedas to others is Adhyapana. The Shastras have ordained the daily rituals and disciplines to be observed by him and performed by him as his function. At least, if I say that the meaning of Vedas is very great and therefore they are to be protected, the modern mind may think of accepting it. The community of people require arts, knowledge and everything. Since the Vedas nourish the intellect, one may think, let some people propagate its meaning among the society. But Shastras, instead of saying this, ordained that the Brahmin must keep protecting the Veda Shabdam and protect the entire community of people by giving it to them. If it is said that everyone should be enabled to understand its meaning, it can be seen how it can contribute to the welfare of the whole community of people. If, on the contrary, it is said that the Shabdas must be preserved by a specified group of people, it is difficult to believe that it will serve Lokakshema, welfare of the world. Just as the society will be affected if other functions are stopped, it is not clear how the society will be affected if Veda Adhyayana stops. If this is to be understood, we must know what is Veda. It does not help if this is considered merely intellectually. It will be useful only if we believe in what is said by those who have experienced it. The moment this is said, objections will come up. How can that be, sir? We are rationalists. We will accept the thing only if it satisfies the intellect. What to do if such a stand is taken? How can it be claimed that everything must come within the understanding of human intellect? Man is one among many living beings. Will a bull or cow understand what takes place in a laboratory? Can the bull say, since it is not clear to my intellect, these physical laws cannot be there? Let us not take the example of a bull. Even among men, how can they be understood by those who have not studied physics? But because it is stated by those who have read well, others who have not read believe them. Looking at what happens with the aid of instruments they make, they accept the laws. In the same manner, we have to believe what those who have followed the Shastras say about the Vedas. On the basis of visible benefits which it has given till now, we have to accept it. The one significant benefit that can be seen is that Hindu religion continues to flourish as an ancient religion despite several onslaughts. Another reason is that in the entire world, the largest number of great men have appeared only from this religion. Because people have accepted with faith without saying it must appeal to our intellect, they have prospered. That rishis or those who went beyond human intellect and became transcendental, and Veda mantras have come to the world through them, is the fundamental doctrine. If it is argued that such people cannot at all attain spiritual power, there is nothing to say. We can point to the living great and those who have attained siddhi, special powers, and tell that these people possess powers which others do not have, and looking to them at least you can believe. If the reply to this is that such people indulge in cheating and jugglery, then there is no argument. In our present state, the view that nothing could be there which is beyond the understanding of our intellect is the most irrational argument. Those who talk like this must properly understand it themselves. Despite there being several political meetings, you have all come to me in the expectation of listening to some interesting talk. I think that no one amongst you is such a rationalist, and therefore I am giving you reason why Vedas should continue to be alive in the traditional way. To those who are not like that, it may appear that there is something right in what the Swami is saying. My talking repeatedly about Veda Shabda and giving importance to it is not clear, is it not? Alright. How does Shabdam get generated? Where there is movement, there Shabdam gets generated. This is said by the rational science itself. By making different movements in sound, we have created different kinds of word sounds. Shabdam may appear to be those which the ears can hear, but when we consider radio, telephone, etc., we find that some sounds can be converted into magnetic waves which cannot be heard. What we hear, see, etc., are all these magnetic waves. Science has advanced to a position that it can be said that one who sees and hears and his brain too are these waves. Let that be. In the world, so many millions of insentient things have appeared: mountains, earth, rivers, ocean, etc. Different kinds of living beings have appeared. All these have been created from out of something. During such creation, that something must have undergone several movements, due to which all things happen. If movement is associated with sound, different kinds of sounds must have existed before creation. In this creation, each gives life to the other. When taking care like this mutually, several kinds of movements or sounds must get generated. It is not that movement is there only in physical activity. Scientists have discovered that even our thought process is a kind of electrical energy flow. Due to this, since each of our thoughts is also a movement, there should be a sound too. Since these sounds are extremely subtle, our ears cannot hear them. The naked eye cannot see the bacteria, but it can be seen through a microscope. In the same way, there are plenty of subtle sounds which are not audible. If there is a movement either physically or through the mind, a sound must get generated according to science. Every movement has an exclusive shabda associated with it. To put it differently, for producing each and every sound, a specific movement has to be made. A musician is singing. We want to sing in the same way as he sings. If we want to produce the same sound variations, we have to move the vocal cord in the same way as he does. Sound and movement get generated together. From such generation, a physical thing or a mental wave gets generated. All in all, Srishti takes shape from Shabda. This philosophical concept, it is seen, is correct according to rational science too. The Shabdas, which are the roots of Srishti and all the activities and thought processes that take place in it, fill the space. When we clap, a sound is produced. What happens to it? It remains in space. There is a movement and a Shabda associated with good and bad deeds. If that sound is produced, the good or bad associated with it must happen. If good thoughts occur to people, there should be movements which produce them. There should be sounds appropriate to such movements. If we can produce such sounds, good thoughts will keep coming up in the minds of people. What greater happiness is there for the world than people having noble thoughts? Veda mantras or sounds which have the power to produce them towards such thoughts. Not only that, food is essential for people to live. Rain is necessary for production of food. If clouds get formed and they rain, it means that these phenomena are the result of several movements. Therefore, if certain sounds are produced and through them the appropriate movements are caused, it must rain. In the same way, we can produce all the good things and necessities of life through sound. It is true that through certain sounds, we may also be able to produce unnecessary and bad things. But the sounds in the Vedas have the happiness of the world alone as their aim. Ultimately, if movement and sound get generated, did it happen on its own? No. If a variety of movements occur on their own, will there not be a mess, each clashing with the other in a disorderly manner? But how much order, discipline and mutual relationship exists in the world? When we see this, we understand that it is a great intelligence which has planned, caused, moved and brought about the creation. The movement that got generated in that great intelligence is Veda. That is why it is said that Veda mantras originated from the Paramatma. We have to protect such sounds now too and do good to the world. Veda mantras are the grouping of such sounds meant for universal welfare. The question comes up in the mind, how can that be? Veda mantras are clearly audible to our ears. During Srishti, the sounds that were generated beyond space are not heard. How can both be same? Whatever is there in the universe is also there in the living being. What is in the infinite whole is also in the body. What is in the Andam is also in the Pindam. Because of this, it is possible to create in the space movements which produce the good of the world by raising the mantra shabdas in proper swaras which cause movements in the nadis of the body. This may appear impossible for the rational intellect, but it is a fact accepted by all people, including atheists, that in the human body there are tools, sense organs, which can grasp many matters of the universe. If there is a sun in the world, our body is able to feel its heat. If there is a flower outside, our nose can smell it. If there is sugar cane, there is a tongue to know its taste. Our eyes perceive that one is yellow and other is red. Unless one single thing had made the universe and the body, it will not be possible for the one to understand the other or lead life based on that. If we go one step further, it will be understood not only that one thing only made both the universe and the body, but also that one thing itself is the universe and the body. Yogis have directly perceived this. It will then be absolutely clear that what is in the Andam is in the Pindam. Whatever are there in the infinite space or in the body also. In the human body, they are differently placed in a manner that they can be reached by the sense organs. If someone creates a sound by his vocal cord, there are in space some sounds which are its root but not audible to our ears. Just as radio waves are converted into sound, if man can grasp the sounds in space and convert them into sounds which can be heard by the ear, he can achieve through sound whatever is required for the happiness of the world. The science which enables this to be done is yoga. The same yoga which by the movement of nadis gives the yogi the purity of mind shows the way to grasp the different powers of the universe by the nadi movements created by different mantra shabdas, just as the radio when tuned to a particular station receives a particular music. By yoga sadhana, it is possible to know all that is in the andam and bring them to pindam, body. If a proof is asked for what I say, which will satisfy the intellect and consistent with reason, it is not possible. In our present state, what is beyond human understanding is yoga. Vedas are there to tell us about things which are beyond the capacity of our mind, which is trifle. When such is the case, if proof is wanted through reasoning for something which is beyond reasoning, it cannot be given. It is possible only if what the great men say is accepted with faith. Only if everyone follows the rule of Yoga Shastra, truth can be known. It will definitely not happen that all those who question like this will practice Yoga Shastra, or if it is said that we can accept on seeing the powers of a true yogi. The question first of all is how to make one believe that he is true yogi or what he does is not mere jugglery. So, faith has to be given a place somewhere. Then through inferences, our own achievements and experience gained therefrom, all these strengthen the belief and confirm that this is truth. We cannot help those who will neither believe nor know it through their own practice. I am saying this to those who believe that there is a state in which Andam and Pindam, universe and the individual, can be seen together as one. There are people who have attained that state. They can convert what is subtle in one as something solid, physical in another. When we look at the universe which functions in such an orderly fashion, it is clear that there must be a super intelligence behind all this. It is from that Paramatma that all the things we see and all the sounds we hear have appeared. The universe of sound first appeared in space, and it was after that the universe we see appeared. All these sounds are in space. Whatever are there in the external universe are there in human body also. The space which is outside is also in the hearts of beings. Yogis, when in the state of samadhi, experience this Hridaya Akash, space in the heart. In that state, the distinction between the external and internal vanishes and all things become one. The Hridaya Akash, Hridaya Akash, and the external space become one. In that state, the yogis are able to grasp the sounds in space and give them to the world. These sound groupings, which are for the welfare of the world, are the Veda mantras. No one has composed them. Although each and every mantra carries the name of a rishi, that particular rishi did not compose that mantra. When it is mentioned that a particular rishi is for a particular mantra, it only means that rishi perceived the timeless mantra which is in space and gave it to the world. Rishi has been given the meaning mantra drashta, one who discovered the mantra. It is not said that he is mantra karta, one who composed the mantra. Just as within the body the breath by its various movements enables life to go on, life in the universe goes on due to sound vibration. Veda mantras are Paramatma's breath. Therefore, without these there is no Paramatma. In other words, they are eternal as the Paramatma. What is special about Veda mantras is that in the form of mere sound, without meaning, they do good to the world. There is something more. They have noble meanings also. All the Vedas say as the highest truth that only one Satyam has appeared as so many. Apart from this, even when they are mere sounds, they have the forms of the Devatas appropriate to the sound and ensure the benediction of those Devatas and even their appearance before us. Shabdam does not yield fruits on its own. The Lord is the one who gives all the fruits. Even then, instead of yielding the fruit himself, just as the king, Rashtrapati, administers the state with the help of officials, he has kept a Devata in charge of every fruit. The mantra for the Devata is the Devata itself in sound form. By constant repetition of the mantra of the form of sound, if one attains Siddhi, he can see the form of Devata with its appropriate parts of the body. To such a Devata Shariram, if with recitation of the mantra, Ahuti, oblation, is made in the holy fire, that itself becomes food. If yajna is performed in this manner, those Devatas give special benefits. Do we pay the taxes to the king, state directly? We pay them only to the officials. In the same way, to the Devatas who grant benefits for the welfare of the world, as the officials of the Paramatma, we pay taxes through Adhyayanas, Adhyayanas and Yajnas. The greatness of Veda mantras is that they are of the Devatas form. Veda Adhyayana will obtain and give the blessings of the powers of the universe, which give prosperity and peace not only to our country but to the whole world. Several Westerners themselves praise the Vedas, saying, even if they are looked at from the literary point of view, Vedas are not the words of uncivilized tribal people. They contain all the rasas. More than this, it enables one to have the darshan and benedictions of several Devatas. More importantly, the Upanishads deal with the highest philosophical thoughts. Although the Vedas enjoy a pride of place due to their meanings, their proud place on account of Shabdam is not less. If we go further, Shabdam is a force by itself. This is a general truth applicable to not only to Veda mantras but to any mantra. In several mantras, the importance to Shabda is more than that to the meaning. The letters of the mantras and the swara with which they are to be pronounced have a special power. The meaning does not have that much importance. If you take, for example, the mantra for scorpion bite, there will not be any significant meaning to it. It used to be the view also that the meaning should not be said. Even so, if the sound formations are recited by the sound vibrations created by it in space, that is, by the power of the alphabets, the poison gets neutralized. Each and every Shabdam has a different power. Abhicharam is a mantra capable of harming others. Those Shabdas have the power to harm. In all this, the power comes from clear pronunciation and repetition according to the swaras. It used to be the practice to remove the teeth of the people who indulge in black magic. This is because with loss of teeth, speech will get distorted, and in the mantras they recite, the Shabdas will be affected. Due to this, they will not be effective. Only if the pronunciation is clear, the aksharams, alphabets will be effective. Once we understand the power of Shabdas themselves, then the talk of which mantra is in what language and whether we can change its language will not arise. We will not say such things as Shraddha mantras can be translated in English or that late father will understand only if the mantras are said in Tamil. The mantras in the Vedas are those which will benefit all beings here and hereafter. This has to be believed. It should not be asked whether what our ears cannot hear will be audible to the rishis. There are such things as divine vision, which can see what we cannot see, and divine hearing, which can hear what we cannot. Now we are able to see with the lens within the eye. If the lens is different, whatever we see will be different. By Yoga Shakti, these divine powers can be attained. It is not correct to examine what is in the Vedas with our eyes, ears, buddhi and reason. As a matter of fact, Vedas are there to tell us what cannot be perceived by our eyes, ears, buddhi and reason. What we can see, we understand ourselves. There is no need for such a thing as Veda. The rishis who possess the divine vision have perceived what cannot be proved with evidence, what cannot be reached by buddhi, and given them as Vedas. We are not able to see what is happening in other countries. We come to know of them through newspapers coming from there. Immediately we believe them. The rishis have given us the newspapers of Veda mantras for knowing what cannot be known through any of the instruments in the world. They have to be accepted in good faith. Once it is accepted with a little faith, we will know the result, and as time passes, we will definitely understand that it is the truth. Even at present, we find that certain things happen here and there by mantra shakti. In this, the harmful is more than the beneficial. All kinds of black magic which give rise to fear by the very mention of mantrikam. But from this, we can think for ourselves and know why there cannot be mantras formed by shabdas which do good if there are shabdas which can do harm. Now and then we hear good mantras. We read Varuna Japam was conducted. It rained. In our own place we see such things sometimes. In another place where Varuna Japam was conducted, it may not have rained. On that account, the mantra itself should not be discarded as being powerless. There are people who take medicine and get cured of their illness. There are also those who do not get cured and die. Because of this, can it be said that there is something wrong with the medicine? If the medicine is not effective, we say that the disease must have progressed over a long time. In the same way, if the karma is very powerful, any mantra may be ineffective. There is another reason too. If the diet restrictions are violated, then medicine will not be effective. In the same way, for the mantras to be effective, certain niyamas, discipline, have been prescribed like restriction in diet. If the niyamas are violated, the benefit expected from the mantras cannot be obtained. Yoga Shastra is a science. If the rules for the laboratory where science experiments are conducted are not observed, the result will not be obtained or it will be totally erratic. What will happen if someone who handles electrical conductors says that he will not wear rubber gloves or that he will not stand on a wooden stool? In much the same way, if Yoga Shastra is a science, its rules have to be obeyed. In several places where Varuna Japam was not effective, I made enquiries and found that the restriction on taking salt had not been obeyed properly. It is said that even a dried up tree will become green by the greatness of mantras. There are people who had actually seen this in Thiruvanekkaval. The Sthala Vriksham, the holy tree of that place, is Jambu, white jamun tree. Due to this, the town got the name Jambukeshwaram. The Sthala Vriksham there became dried up and there was only one bark which showed life. Just at that time, the Chettiars of Karnataka performed renovation of the temple. At that time they performed Ekadasha Rudrabhishekam to the dried up tree. By the power of mantra, little green leaves started sprouting immediately. For every Shabdam, a different result follows in the world. Researchers organized certain sounds according to swaras and played the sound repeatedly on the banks of an irrigation tank. Due to the vibrations generated by this exercise, light was shining as small particles on the surface of the water, and later the particles came together and formed a specific shape. For every series of swaras, a figure of light appeared. From this experiment, it can be believed that by Veda Mantra Shabdas, it is possible to have the darshan of Devata Rupam, the form of Devata. It is not that in the external world, sound changes only into light. It spreads outside in different types and causes different kinds of results. Merely by the Veda Shabdas spreading out in the atmosphere, the world will enjoy all good. These mantras have such a power. A sound will not yield fruits irrespective of the way it is pronounced. Some have to be raised, some lowered, and some at normal level. Then only the benefits will become available. Vedas will have effect only if they are repeated according to the three tonal levels. These are called Udhattam, Anudhattam and Swaritam. Shabdam and Swaram join together and make the powers of the universe beneficial to us. If it is said, alright, we believe the powers of the Veda mantras, but why should a separate jati be required for this? There are several reasons. First of all, Vedas should not be learned by writing and reading. They should be heard again and again, repeated and learned by heart. What is learned this way has to be passed on to the next generation by repeating orally. This is not possible if some other trade or job is also taken up. This is a matter which requires so much time. Not only Vedas, the Brahmin has to learn other arts and sciences and teach them to the jatis which have to do different kinds of jobs. He has also the responsibility of developing the intellectual capability of the society and culture. He must learn all Shastras including Dhanurvedam, which is about fighting wars, and teach them to each jati according to the hereditary jobs they have been doing. According to Shastras, even if he has learnt all the trades, he should not practice any of them himself for a living. He has to teach them to others. That is the rule. Whether it is a highly profitable trade or a comfortable one, he should not engage himself in it. Only Veda Adhyayana and Veda Adhyapana are his functions. The Shastra also lay down that he should follow heart discipline, fasting, etc. necessary for mantra siddhi, eat and do other things just enough for him to live, and he must live in a hut. He should not engage himself in another trade, earn money and succumb to sensual pleasures. Earning money as an objective will not help him. He has to spend his life as a great Tyagi, one who sacrifices, protecting the Vedas and doing his daily religious routines for the good of the world. Others have to protect him and ensure that he does not starve. He has to be protected by giving him the bare necessities for his living. They have to provide him with the wherewithal for performing yajnas, etc. In other trades, people are paid salary. When a thing is purchased, we pay the price for it. We do this because we get the comforts from such trade and the things purchased. In the same way, should not arrangements be made for the living of the Brahmin who is engaged in ensuring the welfare of the whole society by his mantra shabda, yajnas and his ritual observances? The Shastras do not say that palaces should be built for the Brahmin or gold should be given liberally. In order to ensure that he does not fall short of the requirement for his yajnas, etc., he may have to be given the money needed by him. But in his personal life, there should be no ostentation. He has to starve the sense organs and use the mantra shakti gained by it for the welfare of the world. In between, now and then, I mentioned that Vedas should not be learned by writing and reading, but only by listening, is it not? I shall give the reason for this. Since the Veda Shabdas have to remain in the world, they need not be written in book form. It should not be. If it comes out in the form of book, then the practice of daily recitation and getting by heart will disappear. There is absolutely no doubt about this. The matter is in the book. Whenever necessary, we can refer to it. Why should time be spent in getting it by heart? This kind of indifference will set in. I shall give an example of recent times. Now we refer to some persons as Panjangakaran. When we look at what is happening, we think his job is to help the fourth Varna to perform rituals. But when we look at his name, we find that it is not his main job. The one who compiles Panjangam is really Panjangakaran. What does Panchangam means? A day consists of 5 angas: Tithi, Varam, Nakshatram, Yogam, Karanam. To find out if a day is good or not, what kind of jobs can be done on that day and what should not be done, these 5 should be known. These days, big astronomers sit in the Greenwich laboratory and calculate the rising and setting of sun, moon and stars. But till 3 or 4 generations back, the Panjangakaran in the village was adept in this. They had the competence to calculate and tell when an eclipse will commence, when it will end, etc. In no way inferior to the astronomers. He did it with the help of Jyotisha Sastra. He had to write the 5 angas of a day on a small palm leaf called Kuttai Chuvadi. He had this as his alternate name and go to each house and read the palm leaf. From this people would know the Tithi, Vara, Nakshatra, Yoga and Karana which are necessary for the performance of secular and religious duties and benefit by it. Because he calculated the Panjangas and went from door to door and read them out to the household, he was called Panjangakaran. If today the Panjangakarans have completely forgotten this great Shastra, what is the reason for this? Printing press came. Panjangam not for a day but for the whole year is compiled and is being printed in book form. Once it has come in the form of a book, there is no more the thought of getting by heart the basic Shastra and practicing it. All in all, we see the Panjangakaras are there for namesake without even knowing why they got this name. Panjangam, which is a part of Jyotisham, has been ignored and a state has been reached when it would disappear. If they had said that Vedas can be written in book form and taught to others, they would have had the same fate. There would have been no scope for Veda Shabdam to prevail in the world and bestow good on all the beings. Our ancestors know very well that if it was written down, people would have developed indifference. They had declared that one who is studying the Vedas by writing and reading was Adhama. In Tamil, Veda is called Ezhuda Kilavi, an unwritten language. In Sanskrit, Vedas have the name Shruti. Shruti means what should be heard by the ears. In other words, they should not be practiced through writing. Because it had to be recited by mouth and heard through the ears, it was a full-time job instead of being a part-time one. One person recited each padam one by one. The Sishyas repeated each 2 times. Thus the Veda Shabdas filled the atmosphere. This way the Veda shakas, which are vast as ocean, have been preserved over thousands of generations up to this century. If this crop, which has been grown over lakhs of years, is destroyed, there will be no greater sin than that. If there is no Veda, there is no need for a separate jati. Today there is a cry, Brahmin, get out. Have we heard a similar cry anywhere against the potter or the dhobi? On the contrary, if the potters or the dhobis suddenly decide to go away from a village, others would get hold of them and keep them back. What is the reason for this? The potter and the dhobi are useful to the society. As long as the Brahmin lived with Sattva Guna and unostentatiously protecting the Vedas, people saw that he was useful to the society. They showed great respect and affection and faith towards the Brahmins. Unlike the present, when there is scarcity and disease, the society then was happy. That the reason for this was Veda Shabdam, and rituals like yajnas had been realized by the people. In addition to the benefit of the society gained from the Brahmin's duty, the greater benefit was that they had a role model in the Brahmin's lifestyle. The Brahmins lived cutting down the desires, temperamentally peaceful with compassion to all beings, and always meditating on God. Even though they did not have any immediate gain, they lived a life of sacrifice, doing their duties with a lot of discipline. Others who constantly saw before them the jati which led life in this manner, the natural attraction they had towards this kind of culture or spiritual qualities grew. To the extent they could and the compulsions of the trade allowed, they also undertook ritual disciplines, austerities and fasting. If it is said that the Brahmin had suppressed the people of other jatis so that they could not come up, it is entirely wrong. The Shastras have ordained a way of life for him by which he should enable others to rise on their own by personal example. Because it had been ordained that others should not engage themselves in Veda Adhyayana, it will be completely wrong to infer from this that the Brahmin had suppressed others. I have explained that Veda Rakshanam in a lifetime job. Any trade has to be practiced by those for whom it is hereditary. Otherwise, there will be rivalry and jealousy. That is the natural law. When Veda Rakshana becomes a trade, if others are allowed to do it, blunders and confusion will be the result. Is it not? Due to this, the proper structuring of the society will become shaky. Each and every trade is superior. Why should anyone consider that Veda Rakshanam is superior to his own trade and want to do it? Others should not do Veda Adhyayana, but there is no bar to their knowing the truths in the Vedas. This is what is required for spiritual evolution. It is enough if only a few people take to Veda Shabda Rakshanam as a trade for the welfare of the world. The views contained in it for spiritual evolution can be known by all people. Do we not see that there are plenty of truths of Veda and Vedanta in the divine songs of Appar Swamigal and Nammalvar, who were not Brahmins? If the Brahmins had, by monopolizing knowledge and bhakti, kept others under subjugation, could almost 3/4 of the 63 Nayanmars and many of the Alvars have appeared, not just one Appar or one Nammalvar. Nayanmars have been born in all the jatis from the potter to the paraya, Harijan. Where can one find jnanis like Taimanavar or Patinathar? In recent times, there was Ramalinga Swamigal. It is not only that other jatis attained such a status in jnana and bhakti that even Brahmins worship them. Great kings like Shivaji, who had founded an empire and gave fresh life to Veda Dharma, were not Brahmins. Therefore, suppression, exploitation, etc. are merely yarns spun out. I do not say that there would not have been mistakes at all, but it is normal for mistakes to happen in anything. Generally speaking, because the Brahmin did what was good for the society, lived a good life, and was a guide to others for aeons now, all people ensured that he lived in dignity. The moment they found that he was of no use, they say, Brahmin, get out. If without a purpose he is simply running about in search of money, competing with others, there is no need at all for him to maintain a separate identity as a Brahmin. If there is like this a Brahmin jati without a purpose, I feel I should myself destroy it before others do it. Nothing has a right to exist if it has no utility. The Brahmin jati is really not necessary if it is of no use to the world. Nowadays, they refer to the toll gates in many places. Usually, there is no gate in such places. Previously, when crossing the border, customs used to be collected. For that purpose, gates were fixed and men were posted there for collecting it. When the custom levy was abolished, the gate was removed. Nothing can or should exist without a purpose. If today the Brahmin without the Vedas has become like a toll gate without customs, with what justification can it be said that he should not be thrown away? If the Brahmin of today expects to have some kind of exclusive respect, he deserves to be looked upon with hostile feelings and abused too. But the hostility and the calumny should be fair. The calumny should be for his having discarded his dharma, but there should not be a calumny that valuable capital, that is Veda dharma, is wrong. It is to enable the Brahmins to follow the dharma that others should assist him. If the world has to be happy, Veda Rakshanam has to be there. Others will have to develop the attitude that those who have this as a hereditary job have to survive. If in the manner of the Brahmin who has given up the Vedas, others too give up their faith in Vedic religion, they are not justified in abusing him. If it is said that Vedas are not necessary, then it would mean that the Brahmin was right in having given up his dharma and his hereditary job. When once he has given up his hereditary job, he has to find other jobs for his living. Then he has to compete with others. Therefore, if it is said, we do not want Veda Dharma, but the Brahmin should not come to other job, we will oppose both. It is not rational. If it is said that Veda is wrong and it should be given up, there is no justification for hating one who gives it up and comes to other job. The dharma for humanity is that not a being, not even a dog should be allowed to starve. All religions teach this dharma. Even those who do not want any religion do not fail to talk of this kind of love and sacrifice. Therefore, to think that one should not do his hereditary job and should not also take up other jobs but should starve and die is unjust. The biggest help that others can render is to enable the Brahmin to live a true Brahmin's life by engaging himself in Veda Rakshanam. I have heard it said in those days that some Brahmins would go to the Harijan colony saying, "Come, let us become one," but the Cheri people said, "Oh no, you continue to do your job, that is good for you and also for us," and broke their pots which were the only property and prevented the Brahmins from entering the Cheri. Even though separated by the nature of job and even though not mixing with the society, each did his job with love at heart and the feeling that general good should be taken care of. This feeling was there even for the most ordinarily people. Even now, people in general have not in their heart of hearts lost all faith in the Vedic ways and belief in God. My view is that it just cannot go. If it is said that there is hostile propaganda, it is happening for some political reasons. If one sees deep inside, people have love and respect for Vedas, the related rituals, the conduct based on Vedic injunctions and other things. If only the Brahmin takes a little to the right path, all hostilities would just disappear. I had mentioned that without expecting that others must support him. He must, with the feeling of Swadharma, be prepared to even give up his life. But the reality is, even if he does not expect, I am confident the society will never allow him to fall to such a bad state. My argument is that even if the society lets him down, he must protect Dharma. However much others may criticize him or extend hospitality to him, or whatever they may think of him, he must preserve and protect the Vedas for the welfare of others. Whatever I have said all these days to the Brahmin community has been said keeping in view to other communities also. There are several dharmas which need to be told to them. They are also eager to know them. If properly explained to them, they will accept it with faith and follow it. But before preaching to them, I want to make sure of my own qualification for that purpose. There is a general feeling that the Brahmin community is under my control. Since there is a lot of Vedic rituals and disciplines observed in the mutt, there is a general feeling, rightly or wrongly, that I have a special right over this jati which is exclusively meant for Vedas. In such a state, if I start preaching Dharma to others, even assuming that they will take it with love and humility, another question might arise in their minds. They may think the Brahmins who follow him have not corrected themselves in any manner. When such is the case, he has come to preach to us. Really speaking, to me, all are alike. As a matter of fact, my dissatisfaction is great with the Brahmin who has given up the most exalted Vedas. However, since a general impression prevails among people that the Brahmins are under my control in a special way, I am tirelessly telling them, start Vedarakshanam again wholeheartedly. Only if you, the Brahmins, bring to practice a little of this, I will have a right to talk to others about their dharmas. Brahmins have to help me to tell others who are keen to know what is good and follow it, by following as far as possible whatever I have said about Vedarakshana and ritual observances. All people, all beings should be happy. It is for mutual help that people have to follow their dharmas without any thought of superiority and inferiority. Some people have to protect and preserve Veda Shabdam in order that all people have plenty of food and wealth. At the beginning, I raised the question, let us assume that there is benefit in all other traits being followed in the hereditary way, but why should there be a separate lifetime job of Vedarakshana? As I conclude, it is clear that irrespective of whether other traits exist or not, or whether they mix with each other or not, Vedarakshanam as a separate job must exist. Har Har Shankar, Jai Jai Shankar.